joint operation is being conducted in El Dorado Park, just south of Johannesburg, focusing on illegal foreign nationals and the recovery of firearms.
Now, earlier we had heard from the Joburg mayor, who was also there. It was all taking place in Pimville in Soweto. The operation also taking place while the police minister making Nkele's visit to Pimville a week ago. So this is essentially a follow-up after that fatal shooting of resident Nqobile Madlala. So let's get a sense then of where we are at the moment. Nqobile Madlala still on that story for us. Hello to you, Nqobile. Give us a sense then of, we know the police minister arriving a little bit later, but it's the visibility that you spoke about earlier. Residents wanted it. They had it this morning. So what's the sense you were getting from residents?
Well, Gareth, a lot of residents have spoken to us about safety issues. I mean, it's one thing that is lingering in the area. And of course, this is what they hope is going to be enforced as we go forward. But also in terms of infrastructure, that's what they spoke to the mayor about, saying that they need water, that they need lights, as well as things like the roads and housing, which is at the top of the list. I mean, some of the people we spoke to said they have been in their home, they've been staying in the area for so long. And also considering the fact that they're elderly, this is not something that they've been hoping for in their lives. They've been hoping to really get their housing. But to get a sense of what is going on at this point, we are going to bring in the spokesperson for the police, because we do understand at this point that the Minister of Police have already arrived. And of course, Lorenzo, it's been an early morning for the police in the area. Speak to us about the successes that they had today.
Thank you so much, Nqobile. So the Operation Nqobile Madlala was in progress in the early hours of this morning. And while I don't have the figures by me right now, but we understand that several arrests have been made. And of course, this operation is not just happening here in Pimville or in Soweto, but it's something that happens on a weekly basis with many successes that are reported. But what's really important with this operation particularly is that it was in an area where residents of Pimville have been really complaining around some of what they claim are the criminal elements that are creeping into what we know as chicken farm informal settlement. So I know that the operation was in that area, which we are also understanding is that there's lots of allegations that a lot of people that reside in that area, not only are they connected to some sort of criminal activities, but also embarking in some level of cable theft, which we understand and we know that it's one of the issues that are going to be sharply raised by residents when we do meet them today at the Pimville Community Centre.
And I mean, I can imagine there are a lot of issues that you have to tackle. Perhaps speak to us about the issues that the police stations at this point are faced with.
Yeah, so we've really embarked as a police ministry, embarked on a countrywide approach to look at what are some of the teething problems, but also just long-standing issues that are experienced at police stations. And Nqobile, what we're increasingly finding out is that many of the police stations seem to be experiencing very similar problems. One of them really is a shortage of police vehicles. This is one of the reasons why when the Minister of Police was in this area last week, Wednesday, one of the commitments that he made in conjunction with the National Commission of the SAPS was to essentially deliver about 10 more vehicles to add to the existing fleet of the SAPS police vehicles. Of course, we know that when we don't have police vehicles, it means that there aren't many boots on the street. It means that police visibility is hampered on, and which is something that we don't need, not only as the residents of any area, but essentially for the policing sort of end goals that we're hoping to achieve. So it's not just that. It's also around the fact that there isn't that, holistic sort of community relations that are being hampered on. And I believe that if we do go down to police level, to policing station levels, and we have a conversation with police commanders and police station commanders, where we really have an indication of what are some of the issues that are at hand, how is it that the police ministry and of course the SAPS at national and provincial can assist in improving service delivery to the police station and of course to the community that they serve. And of course we know that when we do have these engagements with communities, it also improves the relationship that we know that has been strained for some time. The President of the country made mention that there needs to be an improvement when it comes to the communities that police serve and the men and women in blue. So we believe that it is such izimbizo that really do go towards building or rebuilding these relations.
So today, what can we expect in terms terms of interventions that the police can put forward once spoken to the community?
Well, right now, Nqobile, what's happening in the room behind us is a high-level meeting where we are seeing the SAPS at national and provincial, but also having discussions with officials from the city of Johannesburg, but also officials from City Power. We know that cable theft, of course, is a very big issue here. One of the reasons that residents claim they are constantly having a very unstable power supply. So this high-level meeting is what is preceding the meeting that we're going to be having with residents. And in this meeting, we are going to really essentially talk about what is it that we can give as short-term interventions, but also long-term interventions. We know that the most short-term intervention that's already on the ground is essentially the provision of the 10 vehicles that I spoke to you about. But we need to also look at tangible solutions, and they need to be looked at in a whole value chain. This is not just a policing problem. We need to look at also what are some of the elements that we are seeing creeping in this community. We know that a lot of community members are talking about how they believe that it is the existence of undocumented foreign nationals, for example. They're talking about how there's a high level of cable theft. This is the very reason why we do have the officials from the city of Johannesburg, but also from City Power. So it is going to be from this meeting where there's going to be those decisions, and it is those decisions that are going to be taken and, of course, handed to the community of Pimville. But it's not just Pimville, Nqobile. I have to stress this. We know that cable theft is a growing problem, and it's something that we have to really embark on, as I said, in a value chain of government, because at the end of the day, it's an uncertain power supply that is, essentially getting people out of their houses to the streets, and what we saw happen last week, where we saw that there was that fatal shooting of 6 people at Chicken Farm that claimed the life of Kgomoso Diale.
Thank you very much, Lorenzo Timber there, spokesperson for the Minister of Police. Well, Gareth, you can hear there from her. She's saying that there's a lot that's going to be looked at. But interestingly, they're saying cable theft is what they are also looking at. And I mean, we've already heard from some of the residents there talking about that issue with power. I mean, in the place that we were in, most of them don't even have power. So
it's a big issue as well, and this is exactly why some of the police are focusing on that as well, because it's loading up on Eskom issues as well. Then we have residents complaining that cables are being stolen. We're hearing from Eskom they can't do anything because cables are being stolen. So as far as residents are concerned, and Joburg residents and Gauteng residents, at least that's a move in the right direction. Nqobile, thank you very much indeed. We know the police minister going to be out in the area. If I heard Nqobile correctly, it's around 10 o'clock this morning.